It's the Dactylorhiza Orchids and Meconopsis that I'm going to have a look at today, because they're the flowers that are out just now, and in most of the cases they've all seeded themselves. So we've got some Meconopsis here, some of them just going over. As you can see, here's one that's just dropping its petals, and up here we've already lost some Aracemas, by the way, our forest of Aracemas in there, in the early bulb bed. But if we look up the garden, you'll see there's more Dactylorhizas up there, but that's not the way I'm going today. I want to go around this way. That's the ferns, and round past the beds to just look at the massive orchids there are in some places. So, self-seeded down, grouped down there by the fern. Here's a pot here that was a pot of chives and mint for the herbs, and they've gradually been used, and orchids have got in there, and that's very typical of where we find orchids. They go into even the smallest of places. So if we come down here into this little trough, you'll see wee orchids put itself there. It's been there a few years. Look, it's got an offset, and true to type, look, it's got babies. There's more seeded down there, but it's over this side where they're really looking good and making quite a display. And again, every single one of these orchids I'm going to show you has planted itself. We didn't plant any of them. They've all self-seeded. So this long trough here, all these orchids have seeded themselves. In fact, what we've done is we've had to thin them out over the years because there were so many. But superficially they look the same, but once you start getting in, look at the differences in the flowers. Much more darker markings, fewer darker markings, and these very cone-shaped flowers. And then we'll see other ones like this one, less cone-shaped, more like a column. So all that is, and then if you come down actually from these two, slightly different dart, but if we follow it down, you get differences in the leaves as well. So you've got spotty leaves and leaves with much fewer spots. The paler marking, by the way, is probably because it's been so dry and not getting enough nutrition. So I'm going to wander around here, because this is quite exciting. Here's a little white one. Very pleased to see that seeded in. So I'll watch that, because that may be well worth working on. Come up here, this nice little, very nice marking on that one. But the flowers last a while, because they start going from the bottom up to the top. The bottom flowers open first. So there's a nice one of the dark column ones. And if we spin round to this trough, they've even put themselves into this trough. This was to be a monoculture trough with just one plant, just the silver sacks. But the plants have a different idea, because we've got the wee orchids. They're popping everywhere. And now we've got the Arinus has come in here as well. So let's move around and have a look at some more. So over in this slab bed, all these orchids here. Originally we had some of the very short ones. You'll see more around there. They've come up early, so the early marsh orchid, Dactylorhiza purpurea, and then these have all hybridized from it and seeded down from it. So there's a whole range of those. These tend to be the ones with the straighter sides. My pet dandelion here, it's due to get its hair cut very shortly, if not today. I'll come out and crop all its leaves off, because they're getting a bit big now, and it'll grow a new set of leaves. So here's the little orchids, and then Here's more of the self-seeded. Cone-shaped flower. This one, look how it's sort of like a helter-skelter, the way the flowers swirl up, coming up like if you were going down a helix. And then there's another group of all the self-seeded. These two obviously side by side, so an offset. This one flowered earlier, so it's going over. Some coming later. We come round here, another one in that trough. And always one of my favourite troughs when it's in flower is this lovely, like a little bit of the wild plucked out and dropped into a trough in the garden with just ferns and grasses and orchids. And the Antenaria, of course, forming the carpet. So here's another orchid here. Big flowers, going up to a point. Quite plain green leaves, no sign of spotting on those leaves. Come round the path. More orchids there. There's the bulb bed, which got absolutely flattened in the gales. All the delphiniums got battered flat. And here we come to they've been out for some weeks, the Meconopsis, so the top flowers have gone, they're still going. But all of these put themselves there. All self-seedings. And they're different, you know, you get ones like this that form a cluster. So you've got a tight grouping, and you've got other ones where they go up and down the stem. Lovely big fat growth of the leaves, indicating there'll be good plants next year, because that's non-flowering rosettes that will flower next year. Well, I've just spotted down there. You ever noticed how weeds often hide behind plants they look like? Or in other words, you don't notice them there. I've just noticed that dandelion pretending to be a Meconopsis leaf. And that's my job when I finish this film. So around here, another clump of Dactylorhiza self-seeded into the edge of the bulb bed. And it's really nice, so I think that's probably... We've got orchids going all the way up the garden, so we've probably seen enough at the moment, so let's just finish on this shot with orchids and Meconopsis.